Beginning our broadcast, and our first guest joins us from the bluegrass state of Kentucky. Market Journal caught up with Dr. Richard Preston before the end of the year when he was speaking at the Nebraska Soybean Day and Machinery Expo in Wahoo. Now, after studying at Yale and UC Berkeley, Richard went back home to Kentucky and has been farming there for over 40 years. And I began our conversation by asking him how his approach changes when he's speaking with an audience from Nebraska as opposed to one from Kentucky.
It's really interesting. I think we share a lot of common problems and a lot of common values. Some of our biggest problems are like political problems that affect all of us, but we have to remember that every person is different. Every person has a different type of risk that he needs to manage. So that's one thing that we stress. We stress that any advice we give, we want it to be for you, not general advice that might work for somebody in Iowa, for example.
You've given a talk called Decision Making in Uncertain Times. What are you telling producers that's different now than maybe a year or two ago?
Well, what happens is change is constant. It seems like it's accelerating. We have to be prepared for shocks that might come down the road. So we have to be prepared for these things. Things like the political landscape, all is becoming more uncertainty. Volatility is increasing all the time. So we need to try, or my offer is to try to smooth those crazy things out. I mean, things like tariffs they just showed up. I mean, and other things that are happening. And those are things we need to be prepared for.
You also follow a lot of ag technology. What are some advancements you see in that field for 2020?
Okay, well, ag tech, it moves forward, and farmers need to understand how to use this information they're collecting. So one thing that I think as a profession is we're getting all this good information. Now we need to get with Extension, sit down and say, well, what the heck does this all mean? And so I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see people figuring out more what all these yield variations mean and how we can address them. So I see that as coming.
Richard, explain to us some ways you use science on your farm and some ways folks at home can do that too.
With the new technology, it's very useful, very easy to do these strip tests. Because with, I can set up a system where I want to test one variety versus another, and I can go through with my, because I have light bar or auto steer, I can go through and do this strip, and then over here strip 3, and then come back and fill them in. It's very easy to do on-farm research now. Nebraska has a program where they connect with farmers and they do that analysis for you. I do my own analysis, but not everybody can do statistics, probability. But all states are getting to where they can take that information on your farm and then turn it into useful information.
Finally, and this can go for corn or soybeans or something else, for those producers watching, can you give us some final marketing advice or risk management tips to start off the new year?
Well, I think everybody needs to look at their own situation, and that's not a cop-out. That's just the way it really is. Look at your own situation, and when the market offers you a profit, and you can start to hedge into that market, don't bet the farm on one deal. Do gradually and try to set out your sales program with many different times that you sell. So, I like to say that I like to make a lot of little mistakes instead of one big one. So that's a key, just sort of average out your marketing and, what not to do. And for people in economic distress, what not to do is to just cut cost where it really cuts production. You don't have to shoot for the high yield, but you do need to keep that. You need to keep putting your fertilizer and things on so you meet that reasonable production level.